Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Very Connected podcast. And we're so happy to be joined today by Zoe Schroeder. And she is from Pound of Cure, which is a uh, very popular bariatric program out of Arizona area. And she's going to be sharing today something that I think has been just really beneficial to her own community within, and that's how to reset your metabolic thermostat. And we're going to be talking about doing that so that you can have more long-term success, because that's why we're all here. We're all wanting to make sure, whether you're a surgical patient or whether you're a non-surgical patient and you're just here for for support. We would love to know more about you, by the way. So if you're joining us on the live event, please feel free to share a little bit about yourself. You're welcome to share if you're where you are and if you're on a weight loss surgery journey, if you're pre-op, post-op, if you're just doing GLP-1 therapy, and then also where you're joining us from in the United States, or if you're out of the United States, love to know that too. And at that, I'm going to do a short little introduction for Zoe, and I'm going to allow her to elaborate on that. So, Zoe is actually works really closely with the Pound of Cure weight loss program, and she specializes as a dietitian in helping patients, bariatric patients specifically, and those on GLP-1s achieve sustainable weight loss. And she has a very deep understanding of unique challenges that are faced by the community. So we do want you guys to feel free towards the end of the call. We are going to take questions and answers. We're going to take questions, and she's going to hopefully help you answer some of those. And she's going to help with just giving you some tips and expertise in this area, strategies to embrace some healthier habits. And at that, Zoe, I'm going to just kind of turn this over to you and allow you to do your own introduction of why you got, I'd love to know too, why you got into this industry and what keeps you motivated and your enjoyment with this and this type of people that you are working with more closely.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Brenda, for having me. I'm really excited to talk with you guys today. As you mentioned, my name is Zoe. I have been the dietitian with Dr. Weiner and the Pound of Cure weight loss program for about 4 years now, and a dietitian for over six. I there's a kind of a saying in the dietitian world about how, kind of all dietitians have gone through their own struggle with nutrition at some point in their life to fuel that passion and fire within them. Those who are extremely passionate, right? And so I definitely experienced that similarly. I didn't have bariatric surgery myself, but I did undergo my own weight loss journey in college. And that is where I really fell in love with human nutrition and combining the science with what our bodies need and how to use that to optimize our health and our energy. And it was really once I started applying what I was learning in those nutritional science classes to myself that I noticed my body composition start to change. And I really fell in love with that process. And then after becoming a registered dietitian, I took every opportunity to move closer in my career to working with the population of people that I feel most passionately about, which is the sustainable weight loss field. And the reason why I say sustainable is because I'm sure a lot of people on this call can relate to trying a lot of different fad diets. I want you to let us know in the chat, what different fad diets have you done? I'm sure we're going to see a lot, and I know I've tried several of them as well. But we're taught that in order to lose weight, you have to just eat less and exercise more. It's always been simplified into that very unhelpful phrase, right? We need more willpower and just eat less and exercise more, which is super damaging and toxic in terms of not just metabolic health, but mental health, right? And our relationship with food. And so for me, it's really important to help people not just learn how to fuel their body for weight loss, but also developing the skills and the habits that are necessary in order to maintain it, which is, more important than losing the weight to begin with. We want to be able to keep it off. And that's not easy, right? So being able to find the joy in the process rather than obsessing about the outcome allows us to create the system that is repeatable so that we have those autopilot habits that get you to the outcome, but then beyond, which is so important, right? So today we are going to be talking about the science behind the metabolic thermostat, which Dr. Weiner actually talks a lot more about in his book. And if you aren't familiar with his book, it's called A Pound of Cure, hence the title of our practice. And that is basically the backbone of our nutrition philosophy as well. But Dr. Weiner digs more into the metabolic thermostat in his books. He actually has published 3 books, all of which are available on Amazon as well if you are interested in reading those. Great, short, very digestible reads. But today, like I said, we're going to be digging into how to not only reset your metabolic thermostat, but of course, what it is and how to actually work with your body rather than try to fight against it. And that is my favorite way to talk about it, because why would we continue to fight against our body, fight against our natural hunger and satiety signals? Because guess what? Our body always wins, right? How many times, and I would love to hear in the chat, light it up, let us know how many can relate to the cycle of being on a really extreme restrictive diet, just ignoring your hunger or drinking another glass of water or just chew gum, ignore it. You're meant to be hungry. And then ultimately that only lasts for so long. And then what happens? Your body always wins. That leads to likely a binge or going way off the rails or saying, forget about it, I'll start over on Monday, or, whatever it is, off a diet for a couple weeks and then finding the next greatest, fad diet online. And yeah, I see it. Everybody can relate to this because it is such a common problem. It's not your fault. It's the diet industry. It's this multi-billion-dollar industry's fault, making us just buy into the next greatest thing versus what our body actually needs for long-term success. So that is, as you can tell, that's what I'm really passionate about. And I'm so excited to be able to chat more about that with you today. So I want to know, does anybody want to guess? Again, put it in the chat if you'd like to take a guess at the percentage of people who gain weight back after dieting. Like, what percentage of people who've gone on a diet end up gaining that weight back? 90%, 95, 60, 100. Yes, it's actually between 80 and 90%. And did you know that one of the top predictors, I'm going to say it slowly to let it sink in. One of the top predictors of future weight gain is dieting. How screwed up is that? And I know that we can all relate to that, right? It's shocking, but we also know that it's pretty true, right? So just some stats there on dieting and why it's so important that we build the skills. And again, like I said, the process. And I like to think about it very logically like that because we're so invested in ourselves emotionally, right? Whether you're emotionally invested on that number on the scale, or you're in a plateau, or whatever challenge you may be struggling with. Logically, we can think about it one way, but we're attached emotionally. And so I like to try to zoom out and view the information at hand, whether it's your own life or my patient's lives or whatever, as data, and try to look at it objectively so that we can make those meaningful changes and think about things logically rather than get caught up in the emotion and that emotional turmoil that dieting and weight loss journeys can put us on, right? So I want you to think about your metabolic thermostat, also known as your set point, as like the temperature in a room, right? And this thermostat works by keeping this set point, whether it's a healthy weight or an unhealthy weight, um, stable, right? I like to describe it as that weight that your body feels safest at due to genetics, lifestyle factors, diet, all of the dieting, right? All of these factors that play a role into what your body's set point is. Now, even though your set point or your metabolic thermostat is where your body currently feels safest, that does not mean that it cannot be changed. And that's where bariatric surgery comes in. That's where GLP-1 medications come in. That's where changing your diet, not just eating less, comes in. That's where building and using muscle comes in. So those are kind of our 4 top metabolic thermostat movers, if you will. And of course, 2 of which being tools that we can use due to the wonderful science of weight loss, medical weight loss therapy. And then also the 2 more individually controlled lifestyle factors. And the difference is, remember how I said changing your diet, not dieting. And the reason why, like we talked about before, dieting being a top predictor of future weight gain, it's because going back to fighting against your body, feeling hungry, being overly restricted, maybe you temporarily lose weight or your metabolic thermostat is trying to be cranked down, but it's not sustainable because again, your body wins. It pushes you back to get back to that happy, healthy, not healthy, but safe, if you will, weight, right? And so that's where your hunger comes in to trigger that metabolic thermostat to go back up. You get cravings, right? It's not about having more willpower because again, those cravings, your body is so smart at keeping you alive. Thank goodness, right? Thank goodness our bodies and our metabolism is so good at keeping us alive and safe because that's what it needed to do however many years ago, right? But now in the environment with which we live, in which we live, in not a shortage of food, not trying to get through famines, but we still have these primitive physiological mechanisms that are designed to keep us alive, which we really benefited from previously. Now it becomes a challenge, right? So with that being said, there are factors that we can work to control or help bring down our thermostat. And then, of course, there are some factors that unfortunately we just cannot change, like genetics. And some people are born with a higher set point, making weight management more challenging. But there are other environmental factors that impact the metabolic thermostat as well. Processed foods, right? Sedentary lifestyle. These things over time nudge that thermostat higher. If we think about, and you can reflect on this in your own journey in your own life, if your weight over the decades was put on a graph, we can generally pinpoint it, different dips and the gradual increase to, maybe switching jobs to a more sedentary job, or maybe going through menopause or having children. There are these different life events that tick that thermostat higher. And in addition, those processed foods, which are everywhere, right? Processed foods increase the metabolic thermostat because they are not as nutrient dense, but they are calorie dense. Now, in our program and with Pound of Cure, we don't have you track calories, but we want to think about the quality of the food overall, working towards eating as much unprocessed food as possible. But I do like to say we want to have calorie awareness, right? Having calorie awareness, but not tracking and obsessing over every single calorie. They're two different things. So I am going to throw in the word calorie here or there, but know that you can be successful in lowering your metabolic thermostat without calorie counting. So there are also hormones that play a role in your metabolic thermostat as well. Okay. Leptin, ghrelin, and insulin all play a role in regulating this system. And that is where bariatric surgery and GLP-1 medications come in, because they work not just by decreasing the volume of food that you can tolerate, which we know is one of the big selling points, but that's not the reason why they work. The reason why they work is because of this shift in your hormones that are responsible for regulating your metabolic thermostat. Okay. And so bariatric surgery, for example, it's like setting the reset button. It lowers your metabolic thermostat. And I like to describe it as overriding. That's the kind of the easiest way to think about it, is overriding the starvation mode. Who here has heard the phrase starvation mode, right? Maybe while doing fad diets in the past, or maybe with all the different information online. The word or the phrase starvation mode is basically when your metabolism has adapted to extreme restriction by you not giving your body enough calories or fuel due to whether it's years of dieting, going on and off different diets, or your metabolism adapting to eating 1,000 calories. I was talking to somebody this morning who was like, I just can't lose weight. I don't know what's going on. She's not on a GLP-1. She's not doing bariatric surgery, but her metabolism has adapted to 1,000 calories. Guess what? Our bodies are designed to keep us alive. So if you're not getting enough food on a regular basis, it's not just going to roll over and die. What it's going to do is adapt. Your metabolism is going to slow down. Your body is going to say, oh, extra fat, guess what that is? That's energy stored for later to keep us alive to get through a famine or through starvation. So metabolism slows down, fat stores hang on for dear life, and muscle, which is extremely metabolically expensive. I like to call it metabolically expensive. The technical term is active, metabolically active, but basically it requires more resources to maintain even at rest than fat, right? Maybe you've heard of that before. So with starvation mode, your body's lowering the metabolism, slowing everything down to preserve energy, holding on to extra fat mass for energy for later, and getting rid of muscle if you're not getting enough calories or protein in, so that you're not using up all your resources. Okay, that's kind of starvation mode in a nutshell. Now, if we think about folks who are on a GLP-1 or who've had bariatric surgery, you're not eating very many calories, right? And maybe you know how many calories you were eating, or maybe you kind of have an idea. But I have people who come to me saying that they're eating anywhere from 500 to 800 calories. Maybe more, maybe less. But think about somebody who doesn't have this medical weight loss tool being utilized and only eating that much. That's where, if that's happening, you're definitely not going to have sustainable weight loss, because you're fighting against your body. But these tools override that that starvation mode, because of the hormonal change, by decreasing ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone, and increasing leptin, the satiety hormone, and the GLP-1 hormones as well, which decrease the food noise. Who here has heard the phrase food noise? It's been very buzzwordy lately. And if you have had surgery, or if you are on a GLP-1 medication, you have probably seen a change in that food noise. And it's very interesting, and this is kind of an aside, not something I was planning on talking about, but the GLP-1 medications are being shown to have so much benefit in not just weight loss, but in alcoholism, in gambling addictions, because it satisfies the reward center of your brain in the same place where the dopamine the dopamine center, right? The motivation hormone. So it's very, very powerful. And the bariatric surgery works in a similar way. However, if you've had bariatric surgery before, maybe you've come across you feeling as though your surgery stopped working. Maybe after 2 years, 5 years, has anybody experienced that before? And it's not that it stopped working, but it's that the honeymoon period, which is that period of time right after surgery when you're losing the majority of your weight, that's when your body is in weight loss mode. That's when your hormones are working to your advantage. The honeymoon period, just like any honeymoon period, doesn't last forever, right? And so that is why with my patients, we put so much emphasis on the importance of building sustainable habits during the honeymoon period when you're getting that positive reinforcement. It's a whole heck of a lot easier to make habit change when you're getting the positive reinforcement of seeing your body change and seeing a lot of weight loss versus waiting till you're done losing your weight to then I'm going to start exercising, because then you're not getting that positive reinforcement. So again, there's the hormonal change that goes from weight loss mode in the honeymoon period to weight maintenance. Similar things happen with GLP-1 medications as well. Okay. So it's not that the surgery stopped working. It's that we have to rely more heavily on those lifestyle factors because you don't have your hormones working with you at that point. Okay. So let's talk about those lifestyle and nutrition factors that actually help to lower your metabolic thermostat. Again, it's about changing how you're eating versus just eating less. It's not just about eating less and starving yourself. As we know, that's what over time gets that thermostat getting back up. So, as I said before, working with your body rather than trying to fight against it means eating as much volume as you need to feel full. I always like to say the last thing I want you to be feeling the last thing I want you to be feeling while trying to lose weight is hungry. Because guess what happens when you're feeling hungry? You're thinking about food more. There's that food noise. And I promise, well, I don't want to promise. You can let me know if I'm right or wrong. You're not thinking, oh gosh, I wish I could have more vegetables. You're focusing on those foods you're trying to avoid, right? So if we can, again, work with your body, work with your metabolism to eat as much food as you desire to feel satisfied and full, we are naturally decreasing the food noise and helping to change that metabolic thermostat. That's where the Pound of Cure program and nutrition philosophy comes in. It's not limited in the volume of food. Of course, you're going to be limited in the volume of food you can take in if you're on a GLP-1 medication or if you are in your honeymoon period after surgery. But that is also something that tends to increase over time. And I like to tell patients, it's not you doing anything wrong. You naturally starting to feel hungrier as time goes on. It's not that you stretched out your stomach. It's not that you did anything wrong. It's a natural, expected part of the process. And instead of, oh, I have to go back to just drinking shakes to reset my pouch, or I have to go do some other diet again because I'm used to eating the same small amount, but now I can eat more, but that feels wrong. No. We want to work with it. So the more you can start to eat, the more I want you to eat. But it's not just about eating more protein bars or more processed food. Again, it's about changing what it is that you're eating. So lots and lots of vegetables. Fruit, as much fruit as you want. Who here is triggered to eat fruit? I know it's scary. Like, oh my gosh, I cannot eat bananas. There's too much sugar. I know it's scary, but you can eat as much fruit as you want. I was going to say, as long as you're eating more vegetables than fruit, eat as much fruit as you want. That's the nature's sweetest food. We've gotten to a point in our society and our taste buds have gotten used to these artificial, very intense processed forms of sweetness. We want to get back to where fruit is that highest level of sweetness in your diet. So lots of produce, adding in that volume, filling in as much volume as you can eat with the vegetables, with the fruit. That's how you feel full. That's how we focus on addition rather than restriction. Lean proteins, beans, nuts, right? All of these whole foods. The other thing with whole foods is it takes longer to digest, right? Think about even just a protein bar. Think about put in the chat what your favorite protein bars are. I'm thinking about maybe like a Quest bar, or maybe a barbell bar. Yes, Premier Protein, Pure Protein. There are a lot of protein bars. And don't get me wrong, I love a protein bar every now and then. It's nice to keep on hand. It's not that we're demonizing protein bars, but I want you to visualize that protein bar. Let's call it 200 calories and 20 grams of protein. Maybe we'll say 20 grams of carbs, okay? And maybe about 10 grams of fat. I don't know if those numbers add up to the right numbers, but that's what we're kind of working with, okay? Think about that volume and eating that and how you would feel afterwards and how long that would keep you full for. Versus if you had a plate that had 2 cups of broccoli, a serving of salmon or chicken or whatever protein, and maybe you even do have some quinoa on there because of those extra carbs, right? And maybe some avocado. For the same amount of calories, and let's say macros, let's pretend that the macros were the same. How long would it take you to eat that? How long would you feel full and satisfied from that meal? Because your body is working to digest it. The fiber, again, that produce. Another great example is has to do with filling in the gaps with the produce so that you feel full. Again, visualize a slice of pizza. Maybe, depending on the pizza, what the toppings are, how big it is, yada, yada, let's call it 400 calories. If you were to eat that one slice of pizza, now we're going to say independent of the bariatric surgery and GLP-1 medications, because it probably, if you ate a slice of pizza and you're on a GLP-1 or you just had surgery, that's going to make you feel pretty yucky with that high fat. But besides the point, visualize that one slice of pizza. For a lot of people, one slice of pizza isn't enough to fill you up, right? That's why even if you were like, okay, I'm just going to have one slice, had my one slice, I'm still hungry, go about my day, an hour later, going back for more pizza or something else, right? Versus, or even at that same point, eat a slice of pizza, eat 2, eat 3, right, until you feel full. And then that turns into a caloric excess. Maybe that's 1,200 calories, right? Just to feel full because it is calorically dense, not very high volume. Okay, so for that 400 calories we're visualizing for the slice of pizza, I want you to visualize 400 calories of broccoli. Put in the chat how many cups of broccoli you think you would need to eat to get 400 calories. And I promise nobody here can sit down and eat. It's actually 8 cups of broccoli. Could you imagine how full you would feel on eating 8 cups of broccoli? Now, maybe that's how you incorporate eating a slice of pizza every now and then to have the treat in moderation, but you're adding the extra volume from the non-starchy vegetables to get the volume and the fiber to fill you up. You're getting the pizza for the taste, right? We're not getting the pizza to fill you up. I kind of went on a tangent, but I hope that was helpful. I find it very helpful. Like for me personally, I feel that's valuable to have those visual representations and thinking about how you would feel in your body and the mindset piece, right? A lot of what I like to talk about is addition. What can we add versus restriction? Because not just is it more helpful for working with your body, like I was talking about, but working with your mind and your mindset and your self-talk and how you talk about these things or your mindset around some of these concepts and your relationship with food, it is severely impacted. If you are on a diet and you have to eat these things and you're restricting what you're eating and you can't have any cookies and they can't have this and they can't have that, versus I can eat whatever I want, but I am choosing to eat these whole food, nutritious, goal-aligned meals because I like how it makes me feel. And I know that it's me prioritizing my health and getting me closer to my goal. See how different that is when you're talking to yourself in that way versus that negative, restrictive mindset. Again, slightly off topic, but in my opinion, extremely valuable. So, I want to talk kind of what these changes do, not just to your weight, but to your overall metabolic health as well, right? I would love to know, let us know in the chat, who here has been able to get off of one medication or two medications, stop your blood pressure medication, stop your diabetes medication. Maybe you are no longer pre-diabetic. What other non-scale related wins related to your health have you been able to see because of this journey? And really celebrating those non-scale victories as, in my opinion, more importantly than the scale related ones, because that is what we can continue to get success from. Where the goal weight isn't zero. You're not always going to get positive reinforcement from the number on the scale. So we need to find success and joy again in that process, in building the lifestyle and the system that is aligned with maintaining your goal, right? And so we kind of went through some of those practical tips, but I always like to recommend, if someone's trying to get started with the Pound of Cure method for lowering your metabolic thermostat related to specifically changing your nutrition. Again, we dig deeper into that in Dr. Weiner's book, but also in our program that I run. I do the nutrition program for Pound of Cure, but obviously we dig deeper into that there. But if we're thinking about just one small shift that you can start working towards, guess what? A Pound of Cure is not because of pounds of weight loss. It's because of eating a pound of vegetables a day. So if you're trying to take one simple step today or tomorrow, because it's almost the end of the day, focus on seeing if you can add more vegetable. Can I eat a pound of vegetables a day? I know for a lot of people, it's very intimidating at first, but I promise once you start doing it, it's really not that hard. And you'll notice how much better you will feel, how much more full you will feel, but not in a full yucky feeling, in a full satisfied, nourished way. And again, over time and shifting towards those unprocessed whole real foods is one of the 4 ways we're able to reset that metabolism and bring that metabolic thermostat down. So there's the bariatric surgery, there's the GLP-1 medications, but there's also the combination of both of them. So who here is either on a GLP-1 medication, or maybe if you've had bariatric surgery, or has anybody here done both? Because we see in our practice a lot of success with people who, especially who have experienced weight regain after bariatric surgery, which is not a failure. It does not mean you failed. It just means it's, again, we got to zoom out. If you were here at the beginning, we like to look logically, look objectively at what's going on. It's our opportunity to, as I like to say, pause and pivot. We need to pause, look at what's going on, and we always have the opportunity to pivot. But for a lot of people who've had bariatric surgery and are struggling with food noise, are struggling with bringing that metabolic thermostat back down, going on a GLP-1 medication, if you're able to, is a really viable option for that long-term success and maintenance. We have many patients who are at now just like on a maintenance dose, whether they use the GLP-1 in addition to those lifestyle changes to lose weight and then backed off of that weight loss dose and are just kind of in a low maintenance dose right now to help quiet that food noise, to keep that metabolic thermostat where they like it. That is very, very common. And that is definitely not something to shy away from or be embarrassed about, because we are so blessed to live in a world now that we have these tools, and it's not your fault for struggling with obesity. It's not your fault for struggling with weight regain. But now it's our responsibility that we have these tools available to us and resources that we can find the individual solution, working with your provider, whether you work with your own provider or whether you choose to work with us at some point, knowing that there is an individualized, tailored way that we can find some combination of lifestyle modifications, utilizing the medical weight loss tools, and community, right? You are on this session right now for the community. There were over 100 people signed up for this. What a beautiful community of people who are on a similar journey. Same thing goes for accountability long term. You're not expected to have it all figured out. You're not expected to do it by yourself. So it's easier, in my experience, for a lot of people, it's easier to just retreat, especially when you're struggling. Retreat, struggle alone, not ask for help. Because whether it's embarrassment or fear, or you feel like you can figure it out by yourself, I want you to feel empowered on this journey and know that having challenges is part of it, but it's how you overcome those challenges, and it's how you choose to continue to show up for yourself because of how important this is to you. Remembering your why and getting back to that during those times of challenge allows you to stay motivated, because you're not always going to be motivated. Motivation is fleeting, right? I know that I kind of jump around sometimes. I have an outline, but I also, as you can hear, I'm so passionate about not just the changing your nutrition. It goes so much deeper, right? It goes to changing that relationship with food, healing your self-talk, and really embracing the journey for the long term. So I'm actually going to wrap up right there. Obviously, we want to give the opportunity to ask questions. I love how engaged everybody was in the chat. I love it, love it, love it. Again, that's the power of community and knowing that you're not alone on this journey. So I'm going to ask Brenda, as I'm doing my kind of wrap up key takeaways. I would love it if, Brenda, you're able to go through the chat to see if there were any questions that maybe we missed. And then also you can feel free to pop your questions into the chat now as well. Okay. So just remember that your metabolic thermostat is that safe weight that your body's trying to keep you at. There are 4 ways that we can decrease your metabolic thermostat for the long term. It's building muscle and using it. It's changing how you're eating, not just eating less. It's utilizing GLP-1 medications, and it's bariatric surgery. These are 4 ways that we can actually decrease that metabolic thermostat. But the tools by itself is not the end all be all. The tool by itself is not going to give you that long-term result or success. It's combining the tool with the lifestyle, nutrition, exercise factors. I just want to put a little plug in for, yes, nutrition is important. Yes, exercise is important. Your sleep habits, your stress management, your relationship with food, all of these things play a role and all need to be addressed. They don't all need to be addressed at one time, because I know that that's very overwhelming. But in order to craft and create the lifestyle that you desire to live aligned with maintaining your goals, we need to talk about all of them. So thank you so much. Questions? Would love to have question time.
Yeah, I'm looking back through here. So many of these were just wonderful comments related to our conversation as we were having it. I would love for you guys to feel free right now to bring forward if I missed something as I'm going through this, because a lot of this is a lot of just encouraging each other and talking about like the topic as you were talking about it. So
Great.
I am going back through.
While we're waiting for questions to populate the chat, I will take this opportunity to tell you guys a little bit about our Pound of Cure Platinum program, which is our telehealth program available to everyone across the country to meet with me, to work with Dr. Weiner one-on-one, to find a way to tailor the tools to your success. So this is mostly for people who are trying to get on a GLP-1 medication, or if you're already on one, maybe you got it from your PCP, but you're not really seeing the best results, or maybe you started on GLP-1, you lost insurance coverage, and now you're trying to find it in a more affordable way. Regardless of what it is that you're trying to achieve, I'm here to support you. And then we also have Dr. Weiner available for appointments as part of this Pound of Cure Weight Loss Platinum program as well. And I will go ahead and put that link in the chat right there. Oh, thank you, Brenda. You did it as well.
We were
Perfect.
both doing it at the same time. If somebody is
Wonderful.
listening to the replay, I am going to make sure and have it available for them in the description. So be sure and check that out too as well. Zoe, I'm going to go ahead also here and add some of your other contact information, the website,
Great.
and some of your socials as well. And I have more things here in just a little bit to add, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and add some of those things. There are some questions coming in. So one question I do have that I want to ask is, I know you mentioned something about vegetables, like eating as many vegetables, as much fruit as you want. Is there certain types of vegetables? Is there certain types of fruit that you would recommend over another? Is there anything
Great
there?
question. So I like to describe vegetables on kind of our spectrum here. Over here, we have our leafy greens, right? Then we have the colorful, non-starchy vegetables. Those are your bell peppers and your celery, cucumbers, yada, yada, yada. We can all think of those. Then we have our colorful, starchy vegetables. That's going to be things like sweet potato or butternut squash or corn. And then we have our non-colorful, starchy vegetables like white potatoes. So when I'm talking about eating a pound of vegetables, we're talking about those non-starchies. That doesn't mean you can't eat starchy vegetables, but it's pretty easy to eat a pound of potato, right? So in terms of adding the volume through those non-starchy, these are the fiber-rich ones. But again, having the starchy vegetables, I like to think of it more so in a little bit more moderation, not so much unlimited, but maybe you're having half a cup to a cup a day type of thing.
Okay, great. And there was another one here that kind of goes along with that same question. This person says, this was fantastic, but I've avoided fruit, beans, etc., high carb foods that I'm scared to start eating them again. Will I see gain when I initially start adding them in? What are
That
your
is a
thoughts
really
with that?
great question. What I would recommend doing is adding it back in slowly, especially if if you've been completely like eating as low carb as possible, avoiding fruit, avoiding beans. If you were to start eating a whole bunch of carbohydrates again, you're going to see that weight go up. Maybe you're feeling bloated. Maybe you weigh yourself the next day or something like that, and you see your weight go up. Guess what? It's not that you gained 2 pounds of fat overnight because, oh my gosh, I ate carbs. It's because your body, for every 1 gram of carbohydrate, stores 3 to 4 grams of water attached to it in your muscles known as glycogen. So when you are carbohydrate depleted, so first you use all of your carbohydrates that's readily available in your body, then it starts to tap into your stored carbohydrates known as glycogen. Your body stores glycogen in your liver and in your muscles. So if you have been eating low carb for a long time, your muscles and liver are glycogen depleted. When you eat carbohydrates again, your muscles and your liver start storing those carbohydrates as glycogen, but that means that there's going to be water attached to it. So that's why we see an increase in water weight gain. So with that being said, mentally prepare that you may see a slight increase in your weight, but that generally re-regulates itself. But I would recommend doing your reintroduction of your carbohydrate foods in moderation, just so it feels more incremental and it feels more sustainable for you, so you don't get wigged out of, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I'm eating all these carbohydrates and I feel more bloated and I knew carbohydrates weren't good for me kind of deal.
Great answer there. Alicia says, is there any supplements to help the craving of chocolate? I am serious. Every time I eat, my body acts like it needs chocolate right after.
That's really interesting. Whenever I hear of cravings, specifically sugar cravings, my mind actually goes to first wanting to know, are you eating enough protein? Are you eating enough nutrients during the day? Maybe even we explore the carbohydrates. But because when we get cravings, generally it's from a depletion of other nutrients or just not eating enough. So I would recommend making sure that you're eating enough protein, eating enough whole foods, a whole carbohydrate sources. Chocolate in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing to have. I'm talking about if you like having something with chocolate in it after a meal, maybe you make yourself a little Greek yogurt, unsweetened cocoa powder. Maybe you put some peanut butter or chopped nuts or something like that in there, a little vanilla extract. So you're having that chocolate flavor, but you're not. But the reason it's not the chocolate that's the issue; it's the added sugar and the added fat, or the added uh, cream or whatever kind of the stuff they put into the chocolate. So if you can make these little swaps, and we actually have a session in our nutrition program called Smart Swaps, and it's where we brainstorm different comfort food, treat foods, and making more nutritious alternatives. So I would recommend if you're craving chocolate, maybe you do sliced banana with a little smear of peanut butter and a dusting of unsweetened cocoa powder, freeze it, and then you can have one of your little banana slices after your meal. But also thinking about the root cause as well. But supplements, I wouldn't necessarily go to first.
Okay. How about this question is proteins during pre-op? Any suggestions?
The question was protein drinks pre-op.
They
Is that
didn't
right?
put drinks. They just put proteins during pre-op. Any suggestions?
So it depends on if you are in your immediate pre-op diet. Every bariatric program has their own form of this pre-op diet. In our program, it's prioritizing protein and vegetables to actually, like we were talking about before, it's intentionally depleting the glycogen in your liver, because if your liver's enlarged, it can get in the way of the stomach, which makes the surgery more difficult to perform, which is why, yes, pre-op, if you're in your immediate pre-op phase, I would say focus on protein to preserve muscle tissue, eat non-starchy vegetables for the fiber and the satiety. But otherwise, this would be the time that I would recommend staying away from as much carbohydrates as possible, with the intention that it is temporary, with the purpose of depleting that liver glycogen so you have a safer surgery.
Okay, I'm going to take about two more questions. And just because of time wise, I know Zoe has to jump off right on the top of the hour. This person says, I had pre-diabetes prior to VSG. A1C is 5.2 now. I'm a bit scared of fruit. Will that raise my A1C?
Great question. I'm just giving you all my fun little nuggets today. I love being able to share this. I have a saying that is specific to people who are pre-diabetic or with diabetes, or even just somebody who is trying to maintain stable blood sugars for energy levels or whatever the case may be. It's not that we have to be afraid of eating carbohydrates or fruit in this example, but we want to think about it as never eat naked carbs. NENC. Never eat naked carbs. And what I mean by that is eating, let's say, a banana by itself will bring up your blood sugar, and then you'll get more of a spike. Now, a banana, as opposed to a donut, is still better because you're getting more nutrients and fiber. So know that not all carbohydrates are created equally, but never eating naked carbs mean adding a protein to it. So maybe you put some peanut butter on that banana, or maybe you have you have Greek yogurt and you slice that banana into, because that protein paired with the carbohydrate more slowly increases your blood sugars. Keep your blood sugars in the normal range longer because it's more slowly digesting due to that extra protein. And then it decreases more slowly, which avoids these spikes and drops, which are the cause of an increased A1C. So don't be afraid of eating fruit, but never eat naked carbs.
We're going to remember that one. Is there something, let's see, is there something else to use? My weight has gone up 5 pounds. Insurance discontinued Ozempic, and doctor put me on RDN. Sorry for the spelling. I'm not sure if it's Jardy, but
Specific to medication questions, obviously that's out of my scope of practice. So I'm going to defer to Dr. Weiner, or, you're working with whomever you're working with for specific medication changes. But I would say trying the metabolic reset diet and the pound of cure approach in terms of focusing on addition, right? Eating more, but it's about what you're changing. And that's how I like to approach weight regain. That's how I like to approach plateaus, not immediately, oh my gosh, what do I need to take away? But what can we identify to add more of? Is it adding more veggies? Is it adding more protein? Is it adding more steps? Is it adding more water? Is it adding more strength training? And just focusing on controlling what you can control, but with that abundant, positive mindset instead of a restriction one.
okay. Oh, it's so hard to cut back. There's so many questions coming in. I'm going to do one more.
Okay.
How can you tell when my body is in fat burning mode? I think I am doing most everything food wise and exercise. My body has always been so slow.
So I would say do not look at the scale alone to identify if you are losing fat. Now, of course, I don't know all of the ins and outs of your specific situation, but I can't tell you how many people come to me frustrated. Oh, I haven't lost any weight this month. Okay, dig a little deeper. Turns out they've lost 2 inches off their waist. So knowing that weight loss and fat loss are different, and having different metrics to track over time. So the scale is just one piece of data. The scale is just your gravitational pull to the earth in that one moment with so many factors out of your control, versus having additional anthropometric data pieces that we can look at over time, such as circumference measurements. Yes, your clothes. Maybe if you go to a gym and you can get bioelectrical impedance to see your body fat percentage. So knowing that fat loss doesn't always equate to weight loss. And if you are feeling really confident with your habits and controlling what you can control, and you're knowing you're making as many goal aligned choices as possible, and you're seeing changes in these other areas, I would say that indicates, even if it's a slow loss on the scale, that you're losing fat.
That's a great suggestion, because I think just using different ways to track. So if you're able to do that, that's wonderful. Okay. Zoe, I'm going to be sharing, I'm going to share to our ProCare Health website, which is our sponsor. ProCare Health Vitamins and Supplements is our sponsor. And I am going to also share, Pound of Cure does promote ProCare Health products. They do have them in office. And they also have an affiliate code, which I will be sharing to save money off. So is it okay if I share my screen for just a second? And then we're going to jump back onto you, because I want to try to make sure we get you off here in time to do your call that you need to do. Sorry about that. Here we go. It's procarenow.com. So just www.procarenow.com. We do have some special promotions going on right now on the ProCare website. This top banner here kind of shows you a little bit about those. We do have a bariatric guide. We have our new multivitamins for duodenal switch and SADI patients. New products that just came out this last year. So those patients do have different vitamin needs, rather than those procedures are a little bit more restrictive. So do have a little bit more need for vitamins in certain areas. And then our calcium, I want to mention, guys, we are down to our stock is like running out for winter. So if you are wanting to get your chocolate calcium, dark chocolate calciums for next year, we do have a code. It just went off here on the, see if I can go back. It is Final Bite for 10% off. And I would recommend actually even today ordering because I don't even know if by the beginning of the week, if we're going to have any chocolates left. It is down to a stash. So 10% Final Bite is the word. And then also I want to say here too, 20% off on some of our heart health products, vitamin D3, omega 3s, and Mag D. And these have become some of my favorites products. Zoe, what is some of your favorites? I know that your office does promote ProCare.
Yes, so we always carry the multivitamins, both the chewy, the capsules, the iron-free, and the one with iron. We, of course, have the calcium as well and the iron by itself. Oh, well, actually, the new product, the iron with the vitamin C, I believe. So those are all of the great products. Personally, I really like the omega-3. I take an omega-3 every day. I take a multivitamin every day. So without knowing specifically the ins and outs of every individual person, most people could benefit from an omega-3 as well. So
Yeah, I think the omega-3, I about a month ago, I thought, with working out, this last year I've tried to be so consistent with it. And I just feel like sometimes, as your muscles grow, you have these, I'm going to call them growing pains. You're stretching the muscle tissue in order for your muscles to expand. And I've heard that omega-3s are just really good with inflammation. So I started that. And it can tell a night and day difference. It's incredible. It really has helped me as far as the inflammation in my body. So big shout out on that. I also want to just show you guys here too, under body and soul resources, we do have this tab that says Berry Connected. The replay for today's episode will be, you can go to the place that on that page that has the events and you can click back on today's event. You could either do that or use the link that you registered for. Like you should have gotten an email and it should have sent you a link directly, but you can go there and you can listen back to the replay. Sometimes I think that these things are much better to hear it a second time because I know even for myself, seem to miss certain things. We also put everything on our YouTube channel. On that same page, down a little further, is a link to go to our YouTube channel. And right now we have 482 videos. So we got such a stash there of all kinds of great different programs. Zoe's will be placed on here by next Tuesday. So we'll have that there as well. And if you listen to a podcast back on that page that I just was at on the Berry Connected page, there is a place to click on your favorite podcast station, whether it be Apple, iHeart, Spotify, whatever. You can click on and listen to the replays there as well. We have a Facebook group and a Facebook page to stay connected, and feel free to do those as well. We love having chats after these big presentations like this with Zoe to share your successes, your questions, and all of that in another format. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to place in the chat box the affiliate code. So when you're in checkout, you only can use one code at a time. But this is the code for 10% off. And that goes for Pound of Cure for their affiliate program. And I also want to share one more time, just in closing, if anybody does want to reach out for the Pound of Cure weight loss program itself, I'm going to share that link one more time, just because. And Zoe, is there anything that you want to add in narrowing that back down? I know we're right at time. Like anything you want to say
no,
about that program?
there's all of the information, pricing. I'm so grateful that we're able to offer such a robust, amazing program at such a low cost. So that all of that information is on that page, and I'm really happy to have been able to talk with you today. I hope it was helpful and really nice to be a part of your journey, even if it is just in a small way.
Yes, thank you so much. Such a wealth of knowledge and just you can tell your heart is in the right place and you're sharing just being here. Hopefully has inspired some people who are feeling like, everybody gets in these, go through these little dips in different places. So don't be
Mhm.
discouraged, guys, no matter how far out you are or how close you are to having had your surgery or preparing for surgery, wherever you are in your journey. There's always things you can do to make it even better. So that's what we're here about. Thank you, Zoe. Everybody have a great night too. Much love.
Bye.
Bye, guys.